Welcome to Wellthy Living Conversations. I'm Lisa, your host and founder of Wellthy Living. I'm here to connect with a variety of wonderful people to have inspiring and insightful conversations to help you live a meaningful, connected and well life, both personally and professionally. So in today's episode, I'm talking to a man that laughed himself to health. We've all experienced a good bout of laughter to shift our mood, and there's certainly something to be said about the saying, laughter is the best medicine. So today we're going to explore how laughter impacts our well-being and how we can bring more into our everyday life. So my guest today is Merv Neal. Merv is a specialist who studies psychological and physiological effects of laughter. Merv's an authority on speaking, training and facilitating workshops about laughter and in particular, laughter yoga. So welcome, Merv.
Thank you, Lisa, very much. Delighted to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you. And, I think at this point in time, we all need a bit of laughter in our lives. So, yeah, it'd be great to hear the benefits and some of the ways that we can practically implement it within our everyday life from you today.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I've heard you say and quote, like to quote you, you've said laughter saved your life.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so can you share your story to begin with and how you got maybe into this field of study and into this field of work? So what led you to this and then, to now do it as a career and obviously as a big part of your life?
Sure. So it goes back to the 4th of July, 2002. I was rushed to one of our major blood disease hospitals here and given a very, very bad diagnosis. And when I said to the doctors, I said, well, fix it. They said, we're not sure that we can. We suggest you go home and get your affairs in order. So that was essentially how critical the situation was. It was a blood disease where my bone marrow had stopped producing the blood. So my blood counts were virtually zero. So they could quite easily diagnose how much longer I had to go by the amount of time the blood gets reproduced and all that sort of thing. All your blood cells get reproduced on a regular basis over so many days. So they could pretty easily diagnose that I didn't have long to go. And when they said, go home and get your affairs in order, I'm going, there's got to be a solution to this. What's the solution? So I started to laugh. And of course, everybody said, why are you laughing? I said, I don't know. I said, maybe it's because this whole situation's funny. I've worked so hard all of my life. I was 45 at the time, so you can do the maths. And I said, I worked so hard all of my life to be successful, just sold my last business for an amount of money that had me financially sustainable for the rest of my life as well too. So I was sitting back, life was good. And then all of a sudden I had to be rushed to hospital. I was bleeding internally and externally. So I went home and just continued to laugh and laugh and laugh. And everybody around me saying, what are you finding so funny? I said, I don't know. I just can't control this laughter. Now, I thought, Lisa, I'd lost my mind, gone crazy, because the type of laughter that I was doing was crazy laughter. And you were talking about a very serious businessman who possibly hadn't laughed for decades because business is so serious. And all of a sudden I was just crazy laughing all the time. It wasn't until 2019, I was invited onto a TV show on SBS. It's now on SBS On Demand called Medicine or Myth. And this was a show where they had some legitimate health professionals, a panel interviewing people like myself who had, let's call it miraculously recovered or had miraculous recoveries using alternative therapies. And mine was laughter. So one of the people on that show was a Dr. Charlie Teo. Most people will know Charlie. He's one of our notable neurosurgeons. And he diagnosed me on national TV. And he said that because of my condition, I was possibly bleeding into my brain, bleeding into the hypothalamus. And Charlie found that when people came to him and they were having mini strokes into their hypothalamus, they would laugh uncontrollably. It's a thing called pathological laughter. So he diagnosed that I was actually experiencing pathological laughter. So I didn't go looking for laughter. It came and found me. Anyway, after a week of laughing uncontrollably and eating oysters, and which I didn't enjoy, prior to being sick, but all of a sudden I had a craving for oysters, and I just walked my dog all the time, just full on exercise. It was as if I was trying to run away from the situation. I'd say to my dog, let's go, let's run away. And then we'd come back and I'd eat more oysters and just keep laughing. So the whole thing was quite bizarre. And sometimes we laugh when things are bizarre. I'm looking at COVID at the moment and laughing, not because I'm a therapist in laughter, but I just find the whole thing bizarre. You know, how weird that the whole world is being changed in such a dramatic and negative way by a bug. And I'll often just break out laughing because of that. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Anyway, so once I found out it was pathological laughter, I'm going, oh, that made so much sense. That made so much sense as to why I was laughing. It wasn't conscious, it was unconscious laughter. Anyway, after a week of laughing, I was still here. So I went back to the doctors and said, what now? And they're going, what are you doing? I said, I'm laughing, eating oysters, never eaten oysters before or enjoyed eating oysters, and walking my dog 3 times a day. And they said, keep it up, keep doing it. So I thought that was a medical diagnosis and some medical advice. It was just, oh, we don't know what's going on, away you go. And so I continued to do this week after week until I got a little bit annoying to them. And they put me in charge of the head of oncology, which was interesting. And he was an Indian doctor. Now, the doctor who created Laughter Yoga is also an Indian doctor. So there was a bit of synergy there. And I said to this doctor, what's going on? And he said, laughter's trying to heal your illness. I said, really? I said, let's talk about that. Let's you and me sit down and have a chat about that and about that whole philosophy. And he then explained to me what laughter was doing, what the exercise was doing, what the oysters was doing. Everyone thinks oysters is just an aphrodisiac. It's actually very good for your blood count.
Yeah, well, it has lots of zinc.
Oh, good on you for taking over as the authority. I did not know that. That's my learning for today. Thank you so much. So everything that I was doing was innate intelligence. I wasn't thinking this through. I was just doing it. I was being in the moment, and this was innate intelligence. So once he told me that, I said, well, what do I do now? He said, come back. He gave me an appointment card. I've still got the appointment card here. 10 o'clock every Tuesday morning, and you and I will laugh together until you're cured. And we did. Now, there was a time about 2 months in when all of my vital signs started again. And he said, oh, you know, you're actually going to get through this. Everything started again. He said, now we do drugs. And the moment that he hit me with the drugs, I stopped laughing. The very moment I just stopped laughing. I'm not enjoying this. I was enjoying the other stuff, but now I'm not enjoying this. So I said to him, you've got to get me off the drugs. And he said, but it could kill you. I said, this is no way to live. I said, get me off the drug. The day I took my last medication, that last pill, I started to laugh again. I'm going, yeah, this is the way that I want to live my life. So 8 months down the track, I walked out of there. He signed off medically. He said, you're totally cured. He said, whatever it was and everything that you had, it's gone. You're totally cured. So at that point in time, I thought, well, what am I going to do with my new life? And I'm doing it now. I wanted to find out why we got sick in the first place. Why do we actually get sick? And the common denominator, without doubt, is stress. So we were going to get sick of something anyway, but stress was the thing that tipped us over. And during COVID, we've got the highest and longest levels of stress that we've ever experienced at an international level. So be careful and let's look after ourselves during this time, people. What's with this laughter stuff? If it cured me, and there's a big if about that,
Okay, I found this on the web. Oh. Hey Siri, you're actually going to get through this everything stuff.
Don't you love Siri when you got your backup computer? I've turned this off and that, and all of a sudden I've got Siri over there.
And you hear what she said? She said, don't worry, everything is going to be fine.
Yeah, well, good on you, Siri. That's your opinion, Siri. Technology. And I've got my little backup computer here because I do so much of my work online. So if all of a sudden something fails, I just go over here and I keep working. So sorry about that. I think that's funny. Something went wrong. So I just laugh. I could get really upset and go, oh, I've destroyed this. No, I'll just laugh it off, because as soon as you laugh it off, you just focus and you get back to where you're going, which is where I have no idea where I was. Oh, yes. So if laughter's saved my life. If laughter is the best medicine, who out there knows something that I need to know? So I went exploring for authorities on laughter and stumbled across Dr. Kataria, who created laughter yoga, the whole concept. So I got in touch with him. But then I found out that there was not many, if any, people have devoted their lives to laughter, just laughter. And I thought, wow, I wonder if I could become that guy. And about once every 2 weeks, I'll get an email or a call from someone, a professor, a university, a psychologist, someone like yourself. I was on national radio last night, around about 10 o'clock last night on a late night show. And people contact me even late last night and saying, are you that guy? I'm going, well, I must be because you're talking to me. So I've just become this authority on laughter. Now, that doesn't mean I know everything. It just means that I think I know more than anybody else. And that's really cool because I can then share that with people like yourself. So I use people like yourself as a conduit to get my message out there in whatever way I can. So thank you for that. Then I wanted to become a professional speaker. I thought, well, I've got such a good story and I've got all this wisdom, you know, where's a stage where I could stand on to actually share this internationally? So I joined National Speakers Association and they actually teach you to run a business around speaking. What was interesting about that, it didn't really gain traction because everyone's going, yeah, you've got a story, but yeah, it's just a story. It's a good story, but it's just a story. Where's the evidence? I'm going, right, I need research. So I went to Deakin University School of Psychology, knocked on the door of the head of School of Psychology. He had just been on a 60 Minutes episode with me and Laughter Yoga called In Pursuit of Happiness. It's still online if anybody cares to look it up. And I just said to Professor Bob, I said, mate, I need a research study and you are my conduit. Can you help me? By the time we'd finished lunch and he paid for it, we'd agreed to a research study with people in business and the impact that laughter can have on them. And the results were amazing. As soon as we got the results back, my business took off because all of a sudden I was going to business. I'm going, I've got a great story. I've got a really weird concept and I've got evidence that it works.
Yeah.
And they're going, wow, okay, come on in. Still wasn't the right time. I was in New York working at the time in October 2008. And I was coming home one night and saw a whole lot of movie cameras and people bustling around in the middle of the night. And I'm going, well, this is just what New York does. You know, there's obviously a celebrity around here or something. I'll hang around and see what's going on. And I went up to the camera people and said, what's going on? And they said the global financial crisis just happened. Lehman Brothers just collapsed. They're outside Lehman Brothers. Now, being a businessman, I knew what that meant, the global financial crisis. I'm going, wow, there's going to be so much stress now. Now's the time for laughter. Now is the time where I go full time with laughter. And that was my defining moment, 2003 to 2008, understanding as much as I could, but 2008 was the catalyst where I'm going, business will need this now because there's going to be so much stress that they will need everything that they can actually get their hands on.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that whole journey. And yeah, it's exciting. And it is definitely, you can see why there is such a need for it, because stress is the number one killer and anxiety and depression are the number one killer, you know, as of 2020 and you know, moving forward. So just to clarify, before you had this diagnosis, you were, from my bit of research on you, bit of stalking, you had successful businesses, you were working hours, you had a certain definition of success, and that certain definition of success was very much revolved, from my understanding of what I watched, around income. And you had income goals, you were determined to get there, and you, at whatever expense, in the end it being your health, at that time, was willing to do whatever it took. And then that situation just turned it around. So prior to the burnout, prior to the, you know, the health diagnosis, etc., Had you ever looked at alternative therapies? Had you ever even considered anything outside the medical model?
I was one of these people that if you're not sick, you're healthy. That was it. And I wasn't sick, so therefore I was healthy. So why do you need all this other sort of rubbish? You know, don't worry about it. You're not sick, so therefore you are healthy. What was interesting, going back to those days in 2002 and before, there wasn't nearly the amount of photos of us around in that time, but the few photos that were around showed a slow deterioration of my health. You could see it in my face and my being. I was growing older and sicker. I'm going, why didn't anyone tell me this? Why didn't anyone say, Merv, stop it? You know, you're really not well. But the most important thing, Lisa, is why did I not know? What was I blissfully unaware of? And when you have a passion that turns into an obsession, which is the money, all right, it's okay to have a passion for anything. I have a passion for laughter at the moment and a passion for getting my message out there, etc. But when it becomes an obsession, it becomes unhealthy. So I had an obsession for money where I was delirious to everything else. If it didn't have a dollar figure on it, it wasn't important. And certainly when I got the diagnosis from the doctors and they said, oh, we can't do anything about it, I said, hang on, I've got lots of money. You can have lots of money. And they just said, money can't buy you health. I'll go, oh, well, I'll just make a note of that for the rest of my life. So that was my obsession, and the obsession just had me delirious to everything else. Of course, when I started to find out about laughter and research about laughter and do my own research studies about laughter and become passionate but not obsessed about it, I found all these other weird things as well too. There was Reiki, Tai Chi, Qigong, TRE. I'm going, all this is really weird. Oh, I see. This is alternative stuff. So I became really, really conscious of all of this other alternative stuff. So whenever I come across another weirdo like me that's doing all these outside of the normal conventional things, I talk to them and experience what they're doing so that I can understand what they're doing. And what's interesting is Lisa, you've just got to find out what works for you. What works for you. So laughter worked for me, so I go and put it out to people and say, well, maybe it can work for you, but it may not. You may have another thing. So I think what I've really embraced is what's called CAM, complementary and alternative medicine. And that's anything outside of our conventional medicine system. So when I did my second research study, which was with people undergoing kidney dialysis, that is a story in itself. We may touch on it, we may not. But when I did that, I was called a laughter therapist, all right? Because if you're going to work in the conventional medicine system, you've got to be a doctor or a nurse or a therapist. So they called me a laughter therapist. And that was working in mainstream. Our third research study, once again, where I was called a laughter therapist, was with people with chronic pain. And our conventional medicine system works on physical or mental. And that seems to be it. Yet there's all of this other stuff, traditional wisdom and traditional medicine about the holistic health is more than mental or physical. And I just became so fascinated by all of these other spheres. There's our spiritual health, there's our social health, there's our self-health, there's our sexual health, there's our emotional health. And the word holistic means all different but joined. And I'm going, wow. So even with my work in the conventional medicine system, I talk to lots of people and I just say there's so much more to learn and understand. What's interesting, and I may be jumping all over the place, but you just tell me when my time is up. Dr. Charlie Teo is one of our notable neurosurgeons and a pioneer and in this area, but he's also a Chinese acupuncturist. Not many people know that. I'm going, oh my goodness, you've got a foot in both camps here, haven't you? You know, so he has the conventional and the traditional wisdom that he brings together. And I think that could be what makes him a little bit more special than other people who are just in one camp or the other. So I like to think that I have that ability as well. I can play in this area, but I also play in this area.
Yeah.
And just the amount of things that are out there that we're not embracing that we could be to help people heal, first of all, if they are sick. But then how do we maintain good health, which is wellness?
Yeah.
And they're two different things.
Look, I mean, it's definitely speaking my language. I've got a health promotion background, and we learn in the first, in the first semester, first year, you learn the health model with, the person in the middle, and the physical and the mental and the emotional and the social and the financial and the sexual and the, all the different parts of health which make up the person and an individual and society and everything else. So I think that the integrated model is definitely has a lot of validity to it and is the way forward. Unfortunately, I think, in my opinion, what's happened is the division. So there's been this division between this camp or this camp, and a lot of people, which is slowly, I think, changing, having the mindset that you can't actually do both. You've either got to be in this camp or you've got to be in this camp, and only certain types of people are in this one or this one. And so I think that it's unfortunate, and we're finding this out now in this pandemic that we're going through, is that a lot of people say follow the science, and what they don't realise is that both camps actually are based often on science. So there is science behind it all, even as you've shown just now, just looking at the alternative therapy of laughter. And if you go down to it, there is a whole lot of science underneath it all. So I think that's probably the next step, is looking at, well, what is the science? And I'd love for you to share a little bit about what your findings have been, what the science is behind laughter on the physiologically and psychological.
You'll have to say that 3 times quickly, won't you?
But
physiological, psychological,
psychologically.
It's a tongue twister. So here's a question back to you, which you're not allowed to do with someone who's interviewing you. What is science?
Yeah, to me, science is, in my opinion, science is something that's fluid. To me, science is something where there's a hypothesis, then there's a whole lot of research, collection of data, analysing the data, making a conclusion, and then retesting that conclusion with another hypothesis, and keep going and keep going. So to me, science is something that's fluid. Yeah,
nice. So I agree. So science is numbers. Science is numbers. So the black hole is a black hole, but go and talk to Stephen Hawking, and it's a mathematical equation. Well, don't talk to him now, clearly, but unless you're a clairvoyant. But, it's a mathematical equation. Everything's a mathematical equation. So what we got from the research study was numbers. And they said, the numbers say. I'm going, is that what science is? Then it came to me. I'm going, oh, my goodness, that's what medicine is as well. Medicine is a mathematical equation. It's a mathematical equation. They'll put the blood pressure device on you. I think it's called a sphygmometer or something like that. And they'll pump it up and they'll go, 120/80. It's based on numbers. If it's no higher than 120, okay. If it's no less than. And if it's up, they give you medicine. And they give you medicine based on numbers. Take one of these 5 milligram pills 3 times a day for 2 weeks. It's a mathematical equation. And come back and we'll assess the numbers. Right? So it's all about the numbers. So the concept that I then come up with, which I'd like to explore with you, is the laughter quotient. So I thought, well, I've got the research studies. I've got 3 very powerful research studies, one with business people, one with people undergoing a medical procedure, kidney dialysis, and the third one with people with chronic pain. I had those 3 covered, and I thought, what else is there? And I'm going, wow, what if laughter was a mathematical equation? What if we could turn it into a mathematical equation so that we could go back to the health professionals, the researchers and the scientists, and say E = mc squared. That's where it was. So I started to get passionate about exploring, if laughter was a mathematical equation, what's the mathematical equation? And I've come up with it. Now, it's true and correct because nobody else has got another mathematical equation. So at the moment, I'm winning, because part of research is you do a research study, but then somebody else does a research study against that research study to disprove that. And that's the game that they play.
That's the beauty of science.
It is, because Because at the end of the day, it's a theory, but it's based on the numbers. So I've come up with this theory based on the numbers, and the mathematical equation is what's called the laughter quotient. L times R divided by V times P. Now, we might not have the time to get into that today, but it's a mathematical equation. And where that equation comes from is our last research study that we did with people with chronic pain. Some people had next to no change. Another person walked out of there, throwing their crutches away, going, I'm cured, I have no pain at all. And then everybody else was in the middle. And I thought, I wonder if that person at that end that's going, I'm cured, laughed in a particular way that is actually the way that we should be laughing for chronic pain. Just as you take a certain pill for a certain disease or illness, what if that person laughed in a particular way that helped people to reduce or even eliminate chronic pain? So I went to that person and I said, laugh. And they laughed in a particular way. Then I got my device out. These are amazing little things, as long as you're in control of it and it's not in control of you. And I found a little app and I said, laugh into the device. And I looked at their laughter and I'm going, wow, I wonder if that's the type of laughter that I would use to go to someone with chronic pain and say, please learn to laugh like this, because apparently it cured that person, so it may cure you. I'm doing the same thing. I'm working with someone undergoing chemotherapy at the moment. I'm going, I wonder what's the best laughter to boost your immune system again after a chemotherapy situation. I've had so many stories. I could talk for weeks about the amount of stories where people's symptoms have disappeared. One lady in particular had a lump in her thyroid, been there for 3 years since she had a traumatic car accident. And after just a day laughing with me, the lump had gone. And she goes, where did it go? I said, I don't know, but if anybody else has got a lump in their thyroid, come and see me, because I want you to laugh like this lady did, because it got rid of that lump. So I'm joining the dots. Here's my point. All research and all science is based on numbers. The one thing that we've never, ever done in any research study in the world in history is determine how the person has to laugh. That's been the big variable. They've used the non-variables of watch comedy, watch jokes, listen to this, do this, but they've never actually said that, oh, by the way, the laughter has to be like this. The laughter quotient, L times R divided by V times P, says, let's everybody laugh like this, because then we've taken away that variable. So here's my big claim to fame. Every research study that's ever been done with laughter is flawed, because there is the huge variable about how the person was actually laughing.
Okay, so when you say how the person was laughing, are you talking about like the length of laughter, the pitch of the laughter, the frequency, like the volume? Like, what are you talking about when you say the difference of laughter? Because I mean, if you just said to me, oh, here's this person, can replicate how they laugh,
Yep.
I find that really difficult. But if you said, no, do that a little bit louder, or do that with a smaller or greater pitch, or you coached me into that. Is there a way of coaching to do that?
You bet there is. So my daughter is a concert flautist and concert pianist and a concert conductor. She has the ability to stand up there with her little stick, her maestro stick, and tap it, and she'll go, violins, play a C sharp. Clearly I know nothing about music. All right, I'm making this up. But she will say, play C sharp, all the violins, and she'll go higher, lower, higher. So, see, she has a perfect pitch. She can hear perfect pitch, and she'll just say higher, lower, higher, lower. Then she'll go to the woodwind section and go play a D flat. No, higher, lower, there it is there. So she has a thing called perfect pitch. I have a thing called perfect pitch for laughter. If I hear someone's laughter, I know straight away whether it's authentic laughter coming from the core, or they're trying hard to laugh, or they're really not able to laugh at all. Her husband is a jazz pianist, and he has to play the note. you ding, 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 and then they have to play the same note that resonates. All right, so he uses a tool, which is his piano, to actually get the pitch right. My daughter can actually have the perfect pitch. So the app that I have goes beyond my perfect pitch and says, let's analyze this. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, that's not quite there, is it? Can you see how the sine wave, the graph doesn't flow? Can you see how it's jittery? Can you see how it's really not working for you? Because when you analyze and hear someone's authentic laughter and then record it, it's just this beautiful design. And you go, oh my goodness, that's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's based on the length. It's based on the length, the first thing. So if I was to say, I'm experiencing cancer, I'd like to laugh to help me with the cancer, I know I'll sit there once a day and go, well, probably not going to do it. Probably not going to do it. However, if I was to sit there and go, and if I was to do that for 5 minutes each day, 3 times a day, then guess what? We'll go and assess the numbers. We'll see how the lymphocytes, the killer cells, the T cells are reproducing and see if it's working or not. We go back to the medical numbers. So that's the length of the laughter. We need to get the length going because it needs to be driven by our diaphragm. And the more that we can get the driving of the diaphragm, expelling the toxins from our lungs, calming us and moving the lymph around our body, because that's what the diaphragm does, the better the process, the better the process. The next is the repetition. So how long do you have to do that for? All right. So some people, when they're ill, they can't laugh very long at all. So we have to start them in small increments just to get them back into a state of laughter. So that's the length times the repetition. The bottom line is the volume, the volume. So everybody thinks, oh, the volume of your laughter, you have to laugh really loud. No, you just have to laugh at a volume rate that is comfortable for you in your circumstance and condition. And then the pitch is the frequency of the laughter. So they're the 4 variables. It came from watching a sound engineer create a CD for my son-in-law, the jazz pianist, and talking to my daughter about what are you looking for with that note. And my old music teacher used to say, you don't play the notes, you play the gaps. I go, oh, wow, there is a science to music. There is a science to music about how long the note is. The sound engineer would say to James, oh, can you play that note a bit sharper, when you hit that note, and can you sort of leave a little gap? Can you make it louder? I'm going, there's all the variables. And so Carl was saying to James, let's take out the variables and play it like this. And then they'd listen and they go, wow, that sounded cool. That really had that vibe about it, that jazz vibe. And look at what's on the machine here. Look at the machine. The sound equipment says that was cool as well. What Carl did, if James got frustrated and couldn't play the right note or couldn't quite get it, he'd say, don't worry about it. We'll just adjust it here and we'll create the sound here. All right, so this is why a lot of bands and that have trouble playing live, because it's all digitally created in a workshop environment. So that's what we're doing. We're just playing with the concept. We're getting the person to look at the evidence and listen, but sometimes they can't hear the laughter, and then just start playing with those variables. L times R divided by V times P, the answer is always 42. Only people who know the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy would understand that, and they may be laughing now. So it doesn't matter how you get to 42, whether you increase the length or whatever, as long as you get to 42. But that 42 is the way that I want you to laugh if you've got depression, because I've found through practice-based evidence, not evidence-based practice, that people who laugh this way for this long at this volume with this pitch help to reduce their depression instantly. Yeah. That's the science.
Wow, thank you. That was really interesting, and just another thing that validates that the arts really help our well-being.
Oh, the arts is amazing. The creativity, the fluidity of the arts is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So you've touched a little bit then about the benefits of laughter for pain, and then you've just briefly said about depression.
Yep.
What else is going on that laughter impacts on a physiological level that you found?
What's interesting, because I've been doing this for a while now, Lisa, all of a sudden someone will go, oh, I don't have that anymore since I've started laughing. And I'm going, I don't even know what that was. What was that? And they go, oh, it's this illness. I'm going, that's interesting. And so what I do is I then find out about the illness. I research the illness as much as I possibly can, find out as much data about the illness. And then I go back to the person and get their lived experience. And guess what? The two are so far apart. It's amazing. It's amazing. So understand the illness. One is an example. I won't mention their name, but and I didn't know this, but they came along to my laughter training and they had Sjogren's syndrome. I'm going, I have no idea what that is. What is that? And it's when you can't cry or salivate or provide lubrication into your body. So you get pain in the joints and the likes. After just one laughter exercise, they were crying, tears down their face. And they're going, I can't cry. I said, but you are. And they go, no, I can't. I have this illness called this, and I have to take drops for my eyes, etc., because I can't lubricate my eyes. I said, but you can. I'm going, what the hell happened there? And what happened there was this person couldn't cry, so therefore they started to bottle up their emotions within themselves. Because they can't cry, bottle up your emotions so that you don't cry. What we did though, it's like a tap. We just unleashed those emotions, and all of a sudden the emotions started to flow and the tears started to flow. So I went back to Dr. Kataria from Laughter Yoga and said, what's going on? It's only a theory, because apparently with this illness, there is no cure. And it's an autoimmune disease. Now, these autoimmune diseases are everywhere at the moment and on the rise, and they don't know what causes them. I have a theory that it's excessive amounts of stress, putting our immune system into overdrive, and then we can't cure them. You see, if we can't understand them, we can't cure them. Anyway, this person was just crying tears of joy, and I said, go back to your doctors and say, what's going on? And I don't know. They said, we don't know. It's a miracle. So that's an example, the lump from the person's throat. There are so many applications, and I think this is why they say laughter is the best medicine, because thousands of years ago they found that people could laugh themselves healthy regardless of their circumstances. So let's get on to the big one at the moment, and that's mental illness, depression and anxiety. So our 2010 Australian of the Year, Patrick McGorry, a mental health campaigner, said there is a shadow pandemic coming. The COVID will move through, but the shadow pandemic is mental illness. Now, we know it's coming. It comes after every crisis, be it bushfire, floods, droughts, whatever it is. The crisis moves through, but then there is the mental health crisis that comes behind us. So how are we going to use laughter to help people with those mental illnesses? And it's really quite simple, if I can dare to say that. You can't be depressed and laugh.
Yeah.
You can only do one or the other. You can't be anxious. You can't be anxious and laugh. Yeah, laughter sits in the middle. When you laugh, you're in the moment. And when you're in the moment, there's no past, there's no future, there's no depression, there's no anxiety. So the many groups that I do, and one that I did just the other day, I just said, how about for the next hour, you won't have a thought at all about COVID? Would that be a good thing? Would you enjoy that? And they go, oh, bring it on. What have we got to do? I said, we're just going to laugh. And at the end of it, I said, who had a negative, depressive thought or an anxious thought in the last hour? And they go, no, it's gone. I said, it's okay, it'll come back. I said, but we have the ability to laugh it away. So this is laughing in spite of a situation, not at a situation. So people who are depressed, guess what, Lisa? They don't feel like laughing. They're sitting there going, why should I laugh? People who are anxious don't feel like laughing. I'm going, great. That's the sign that you need to laugh. So I then, for want of a better word, coach them into doing some laughter exercise, and all of a sudden they're laughing and all of those thoughts disappear. They all go.
So before we continue on some of the other benefits of laughter, can I follow that trail of what you've just said, and you said you coach people into laughter, and I'm sure that people listening to this today possibly are feeling a little bit or a lot anxious or depressed or flat, or just feel like they're continuously in their thoughts and would love some presence. So can you give me a little rundown of what it means to coach someone? And I don't mean a 10-minute rundown, I mean like a 30-second, 45-second sort of maybe minute.
Okay, cool. So it's getting out of our heads and into our bodies. All right, it's as simple as that. So let's get into our bodies now, just you and me, nobody watching this. And what I want you to do is I want you to smile. Yeah, we're having trouble there. Okay, so grab your smile string, Lisa, grab your smile string. Everybody watching this amazing podcast and listening to it can do the same. It's an imaginary piece of string. And I want you to bite it, pull it up over your ears and drop the jaw. Drop the jaw and go,
And should I move my body like that too?
if you like. So laughter is a whole of body experience, So we start with the face. This is called physiognomy. All right. If we can change the appearance of our face just by smiling, even if we pretend that it's a laughter string that's opening up our mouth, that's where it begins. All right. Because the facial muscles start to tell the brain, I'm having a good time here. So I say to people, laughter begins with a smile. Wake up in the morning and smile. And they sort of grit their teeth, and I'm going, that's not a smile. I said, smile into your eyes, stick a pen in your mouth and push it towards the back of your mouth, or put your fingers in your mouth, push it back and take them out and just look at yourself in the mirror. Now, it's weird, it's unusual because we don't feel like doing it, all right? We're feeling negative emotions. We don't feel like doing it, but all of a sudden we are forcing ourselves to do a positive emotion activity. What's interesting about these facial muscles, and I came across an AI, artificial intelligence app that they're using in aged care facilities at present, and it's to measure through the facial muscles with a 3-second video how much pain that person is in, because this doesn't lie. Now, it's for people with dementia, because people with dementia can generally not communicate back to the people how much pain they're in. So they don't know, so they're using this AI app that measures 1,000 bits of your face in a 3-second video to gauge how much pain you're in. I'm going, great. I'm down to the first aged care facility that will take me. I have a good relationship with one. And I went to the manager and I said, I want that app. I want that app. I want to gauge the people's pain levels purely by taking a 3-second video of their face before a laughter session and after a laughter session. Every person, not one, not two, every person's pain levels reduced according to that app. All right, so it's about telling the face first of all, and then it's about getting the body to have a good time. All right, so put your hands on your tummy.
Yep.
And I want you to wiggle your tummy a little bit. Just give it a little bit of a jiggle and just go. Put your hand on your heart. Smile, breathe in, give it a little rub and go. Put your hand on your throat, smile and breathe in and go. All right. So it took me a while. I did a couple of sessions with you, but the point is, if we simulate this into the body, the brain starts to follow, and it goes. I can hear laughter noises. I can feel the muscles sending messages through the vagal nerve, up to our brain, saying body's having a good time. Why am I not releasing the chemicals? Release the chemicals into the body. And when those chemicals get into your body, you start to feel fantastic and you start to authentically laugh.
Yeah. So that's basically, you're saying the process from, say, simulated laughing to authentic
Yep,
laughing to, I
absolutely.
suppose, like I experienced then with you, and I've experienced many times in my life, like contagious
Yep.
laughing. So,
Yes, that's right. Part of the critical thing, Lisa, is I can tell you to do these exercises, but when I do them with you, you connect with my authentic laughter.
yeah.
And all of a sudden you start to resonate. It's like the violins and the violin pick. You know, you're playing a certain note, but then all of a sudden you hear somebody else playing the perfect pitch, the perfect note, and you go, oh, I'm going to play it like that. Laughter connects people at a very, very deep level.
Yeah, which is something I definitely want to move on to next. So, what I mean,
Yep.
everyone's experienced this idea of at some point in their life, more people, sometimes some people more than others, but the idea of contagious laughter. So, is there something that happens to us that enables us to laugh and it becomes contagious?
Yeah, we start to feel good in our bodies. So everybody loves a good comedian, all right, because they make us laugh. In fact, they give us permission to laugh. They say, come along to our show, sit in an audience surrounded by a whole lot of other people and laugh with those people. I will create the stimulus for you.
Yep.
All right, so it's giving yourself permission to let go and laugh in a way that suits you. We are so judgmental in everything in our lives, living on Zoom at the moment. We're judgmental about the way that we look, and oh goodness, where did that wrinkle come from? Oh, I'm aging. So we're judging all the time, so we judge our laughter. Don't judge it. Don't judge it. Just laugh. Allow the laughter to just flow from your body, which means we've got to get the conscious mind out of the way. And my conventional medicine friends, doctors, nurses, therapists, have come across this thing called body-mind medicine. And they're going, oh my goodness, there's a connection between the two. Yes, absolutely there is. So we can have the medicine of the mind trying to help the body, or we can have the medicine of the body trying to control the mind. So let's talk about mental health, mental illness, depression, or anxiety. That's a condition of the mind. We can try and do it that way by going directly to it, or we can sneak up on it through the body and catch up on it behind and actually change the mind through the body. And that's what laughter yoga does. It's body-mind medicine.
Yeah, brilliant. And so if we go back to looking at like what you said, that it connects people and helps develop relationships and bonds and stuff like that, through its contagion. What
Yep.
what have you found with that? Is that just in personal relationships? Is it in professional relationships? Do you think that businesses, teams and whole businesses maybe have a better bonding when they've incorporated things like laughter, or they do, whether it's laughter yoga, or they take a more light side and encourage people to laugh and be light and stuff like that? Do you think that all of that bonds and makes a difference? How do you think it impacts? Personally,
the answer is absolutely. So let's go professionally, because a lot of the people viewing this may be business people and saying, how can this work in my business? I've gone into lots of businesses and I'm going, how the hell do you work here? Or how on earth do you do that job? To a person, they say, it's not about the job, it's about the people that I work with. Every time they say it's not about the job, it's about the people that I work with. They will use words like, I love the people that I work with. I love my manager. And I'm going, that's why you come and you do these really challenging jobs. You may not love the work, but you love the people that you work with. So who are you going to connect with? All right, who do you want to connect with? I tell you what, I'm going to surround myself with 10 miserable people that are just talking about how bad life is. And I'm going to surround myself by those people because that's how I want to live my life. No, I want happy, positive, uplifted, excited, passionate people. I want to surround myself with those people.
Yeah.
And when you do, you become uplifted yourself. So I see that as my job, to be one of those people, to say there is another way of living life, and that is a happy, joyful life. And the tool is laughter. One of the people that I coached until they died, they had a brain tumor, came to me and said, this is inoperable. Can you help me die happy? I said, yes, I can. Absolutely can. I can't help that you're going to die. I said, we're all going to die. And I said, I hope you die before I do. That's called humor. All right. And he laughed at that. He laughed at that. And so I worked with him until he died, but he died happy. And I'm going, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. Not today. Not today. Maybe not for a long time. But you're going to lead a happy, joyful life, surrounded by happy, joyful people, and being happy and joyful in yourself, or surround yourself with miserable people. And everybody goes, well, I don't want to surround myself with miserable people. Well, don't be a miserable person yourself. Use some tools to actually get yourself out of that state, especially when the external environment is coming at you as it is now, that says this is tough times. I know it's tough times. I've never been through anything like this in 51 years of business and more in being physically on this earth. Never been through something as big as this. But imagine if we do survive this, how are we going to thrive? What have we learned? How are we going to come out the other side? Are we going to value relationships instead of KPIs? Are we going to value morale in the business instead of performance levels? You know, what are we actually going to value now? If we don't come out of this the other side valuing things differently, and that is the human connection, the fact that people are not robots. I'm a last century as well as this century business leader. And last century it was don't think, just do. I'll think, you just do. You know, the industrial age and robots and just do. Now it's about the people, connecting with the people at a very, very heart space level. Now this requires new leadership. So I work with a lot of leaders and just say, how are people going to connect with you? Are you a happy, positive, upbeat person who is laughing all the time? Or are you that miserable old last century leader like I was, saying, no, it's all about the numbers and that's it. I said, that worked last century. That's not going to work this century. So I just tell people, now, this requires a level of vulnerability. And one of the most vulnerable things you can do is authentically laugh. So in the laughter sessions, I say to the managers and supervisors, you must come and laugh with the people. You must show them that you are willing to express your joy or not. All right, wherever you're at is wherever you're at. But I said, once we all start to express that joy together, we start to connect. And that will pull us through some really tough times. Lisa, it's called a sense of humor.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We've got our other five senses, you know, touch, smell, sight, all that sort of stuff. But where is our sense of humor? I just thought of something. COVID takes away your taste and smell. I think it's also taking away our sense of humor.
Yeah.
All right. So just be aware of that.
And, and also outside, it's taking away our smile.
We have to wear masks. Now, I get that we have to wear masks inside and out, but it's taking away that connection to other people. A thing that we created in our panic back in March last year was social distancing. No, it's physical distancing. Yeah. We need to be socially connected more than ever before.
Yeah.
And we connect through the laughter. It's just a tool to help us connect in a very, very positive, uplifting way. Because when you're laughing in the moment, everything's all right.
Yeah.
Everything's okay.
Yeah. And look, everything you said, I love, that from our brief conversation prior to this conversation, that one of my real missions is about human connection, and how I believe connection is medicine, and how important it is for people to connect. And we've also had that brief discussion around leadership, and I'm completely on your page about the new way of leadership. And hopefully after this situation, we realise that we do need a lot more on connection, and that is success in a business that drives then the added benefit of the profit, as opposed to the other way around, which often doesn't always lead to connection. It often leads to connection. So that's a whole another episode, but if I come back, because we are moving quite far with the time. But there's an interesting thing, like when you talk about people like simulating laughter, or even people using laughter as nervous laughter, like you see people using it as a coping mechanism. So people generally, to, I suppose, from my understanding on a physiological level, what happens when we laugh is we create some homeostasis within the body so that we get that balance in our system. And so it allows us to cope with maybe some of the anxiety that we're experiencing that time, or that fear, or that uncomfortableness. So we tend to use it as a defense mechanism. So in that way, it can be a really positive thing. Do you see there being a possibility that in situations of either anxiety or situations of trauma or anything like that, are we possibly using laughter, or is it possible that laughter also suppresses maybe some other emotions that may be more negative and may not be that comfortable, but are also valid and important to feel? So like you said before, you can't laugh and be angry really at the same time. And there's so much talk about now about validity of all emotions, and are we possibly through laughter, even though it has so many benefits, pushing down some of those other emotions that are also important to be felt?
Yeah, really interesting concept that you're putting to me. And just before this recording started, you said, I want to bring this situation up. So I haven't had time to think about it, which is good. But I'll put it back to you, which I'm not allowed to do to the interviewer. How do you know you're happy?
No rules.
How do you personally know you're happy?
I think for me, it's that feeling of contentment or just feeling fulfilled on a physical level. I think I can notice it in my expansion state, or as opposed to a contracted state. So those physical changes. I suppose I've got less anxious feelings in my gut. I connect more easily with people. I respond rather than reacting to a lot of situations. I suppose I laugh more, and I feel more at ease.
Yeah, good answer. And I would expect an answer like that from people. I'll make it a little bit more simple. How do I know if I'm happy? Because I've been sad.
Yeah. I mean, that's all like the polarity, isn't it, of all things.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's the spectrum. All right. So if I was 0 out of 10 emotionally, I'm sad and I'm crying. I'm sobbing uncontrollably like a business owner who'd lost their business after 32 years the other day on the phone to me, sobbing uncontrollably. I'm going, yeah, that's 0 out of 10. So happiness is the other end of the spectrum. 10 out of 10. I'm smiling. I'm upbeat. I feel great about myself. I'm laughing and I'm connecting with other people. So you only ever know true happiness if you've ever known true sadness. And that's what life does. It gives us everything on a platter. At the moment, it's giving us a whole lot of really negative stuff that we never saw coming. But this is going to create a catalyst for us to go, I know what anger is. I know what frustration is. I know what sadness is. I know what depression is. I know what anxiety is, because I'm going through it at the moment at a level that I've never been through it before. I'll never forget. Last year, I walked out of my house that I'm in at the moment and walked into a hole. I'm going, I don't remember that hole being there. I'm going, that's the hole that people with depression tell me about, that hole, and it goes down, 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 and you spiral down, it gets deeper and darker, and you reach the bottom and there's a black dog. I'm going, there it is. I've never experienced that before. I'm going, that is so cool. I've actually gone there and it was shitty. It was shitty. I started to get scared and I'm going, I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. But until I experienced that depression and actually went to the place that these other people were telling me about, I couldn't really understand what it is to be depressed. So depressed for me is, my cup of coffee, my cup of tea went cold while we're doing this. Oh, pity you. Other people experience such negative emotions at a different level. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to get depressed and has to get anxious, but don't deny yourself that privilege of going there. And when you go there, acknowledge that you're there and that's your 0 out of 10. Now, we've all got different zeros out of 10, but don't deny yourself the ability to go there. When my mum passed several years ago now, I'm going, oh yeah, this is sad, but I tell you what, she'd had a good innings. She was 92 and she'd had 4 children. And then I'm going, stop it, bawl your eyes out now. Cry, for God's sake, really, really cry and mourn her loss, because I'm a bloke, I don't cry. I keep all my emotions in. And I just went to her coffin and just cried uncontrollably. It was a cleansing process.
Yeah.
It was a cleansing process. I was letting myself be in that moment of that such sad sorrow, and everything else up until maybe COVID, I've said, well, that was the depths of my sorrow. I've never ever been that sad or sorrowful. So everything else is relative to that. So happiness to some people is not being sad. No, that's just not being sad. Let's do some things to actually push ourselves up into this area of joy and elatedness and just blissful peace and experience. And let's go there. So if you use laughter as a defense mechanism to stop yourself going down, you possibly denied yourself the opportunity of knowing what true joy is, because it's on a spectrum. Here's my point. Don't go down there for very long. Yeah. Don't go down there for very long. That's the point. Notice that you're going down there. Allow yourself to go down there. Experience it, but then stop it. Step number one, stop it. Then once you stop it, then use laughter to actually pull yourself out. When my business and my associate's business went boom to bust, in March, I said to the particular gentleman, I said, right, let's have a pity party. I think the pity party should last for about a week. Let's get angry. Let's get crying. And then I said, right, the pity party's over. Let's rebuild this. Let's stop the pity party. But when you're in a pity party and surrounded by other people who are in the pity party, it's really hard to actually stop it. You know, we've got to get out of it. So that's all.
I was going to say, just like laughter's contagious, so is pity.
Oh, you bet. Oh, you surround yourself with negative, miserable people, you will become negative and miserable as well. The power of these emotions to transmit to other people is real.
I just want to also just touch on something else with the laughter yoga. So from my understanding of what you've described so far, and what I've also just had a look and read about, is the process, like we talked about, of that simulated or fake laughter then becomes contagious laughter, and obviously people feel the benefits. How important is it? Because I want to be careful here that anyone's listening, that they don't just go and grab a whole lot of people and just go and do this, because how important it is to be in a controlled environment with a skilled facilitator to avoid possible, say, childhood trauma of someone in the room that might be paranoid, have anxiety, had feelings of ridicule, surface past traumas of being teased and mocked and laughed at. And if they're in a room when everybody's just laughing, how possible is it that those traumas can be resurfaced?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the skill of the facilitator, of the leader, to be able to take people on that journey and to get them to understand the challenge of actually laughing in or with a group. So when everything went online March last year, a lot of people said to me, I actually enjoy laughing online because I'm not actually in the room with those people. Other people were saying, oh, I've got to get back in the room with people. So it's just whatever you need. But it's very much in the facilitator or the leader's skills to go, I know where you're at. And we're not going to take you from 0 to 10. We're going to take you from 0 to 1. We're just going to, or we're going to take you from 1 to 1. We're going to stop you going down to 0. All right. So understanding where people are at. Where people are at the moment, I'm in Melbourne, we've just gone into our 6th lockdown. Sydney's in a fair amount of trouble with the numbers at the moment. I know where people are at. We're at shitty state. We are in a really shitty state. I know where you're at. So I would never run a laughter session and say, oh, come on, let's all just laugh. Let's be free. Let's dance in the... No, that's not going to resonate with anybody. In fact, that's going to be seen as though I'm laughing at the situation, and there's nothing funny about the situation at the moment. The biggest challenge that I have, Lisa, is my social laughter club, and maybe we'll make mention of that because we have daily online free sessions where people can come along and have a laugh with us, is I never know who's going to turn up. At a commercial gig, I know they're all executives, they're all in the insurance or financial business, they're all experience this type of stress, and they're all in this mindset. I'm going, that's easy because you're all very, very similar. At my social laughter club, I may have, as we did last night, a mother coming in with her son, another person who's just had bowel cancer was on board, somebody else experiencing depression, somebody living with that person with depression. We had all of these different people, and my skill was to get them all to come together and laugh in a way that's going to assist them and not in a judgmental way that supports the group. All right. So I'd never say to anybody, come on, Lisa, laugh louder. Come on. You can do better than that. What are you doing? No. Just giggle away. Just giggle away and see what happens. Now, here's my point. You can't be in a whole 1 hour session with people laughing and being joyful and seeing the expressions on their face and feel bad. If you do and go into a state of negativity, you possibly need professional help.
Yeah.
You possibly need professional help, because if you're that deep in the shit, and I mean that so respectively, if you're that deep in the shit, don't come to one of my laughter sessions, because all you're going to do is get stuck there.
And I think that it's also being aware that not everybody might be deep in the shit in those present moments, but there's maybe some old trauma that they've forgotten about that this situation can bring up. And I think that my point is to really share with anybody that's listening today that despite these laughter yoga sessions being extremely beneficial, and for most part and for most people the impacts are going to be really, really positive, but it is important that there is a really skilled facilitator and space holder that can recognize if someone is going through that and can be able to hold that space or allow them to feel comfortable if they are going through any of those processes.
Absolutely. So I wasn't being unprofessional. I was merely going to get my little towel, and this is the Department of Veteran Affairs. All right. So I've done some work with them. This is my towel. When I'm doing my laughter session, I mop my head, and the trauma that those veterans have gone through is unfathomable, unfathomable, with PTSD, etc. I had a gig for several years where I was working with the loved ones of returned veterans who were going through PTSD because they were living with people with PTSD.
Yeah.
And I'm going, how can I ever get through to those people? What can I ever do to support them with laughter? And the first thing that we found is there's no laughter in their life. So I said to them, would you like some more laughter in your life? And they go, yeah. What a stupid question, you silly old bald man. Of course I want some laughter in my life, but I can't because. All right, I'm going, right, there's the conscious mind intervening on what I have to do. So it's then my skill, and I've been doing it for, 18 years. So I'm not a novice at this. Yeah. And one of the dangers, Lisa, is someone does the 2-day training and goes, oh, now I can go anywhere and do it 20. No, you can't. Yes. No, you can't. You have to be skilled at it. So I just had to walk those people through that and just say, just come with me. Just let's inch away. Let's see if we can laugh. And I tell you what, they started killing themselves laughing because there was all this build-up emotions. They wanted to laugh, and all of a sudden it came roaring out of their body. So this is ex-military people. I'm ex-military as well, but I never saw live combat. And these people are big, tough people that are taught to keep in a whole lot of stuff. But I tell you what, as soon as you took the plug off, they just exploded, and they had the best time laughing. It gave them that realization that A, they can laugh, and B, they should, because at the end I said, how do you feel? I said, I know your PTSD is not fixed, but I said, in that hour, I said, how did you feel? And they said, bloody fantastic. I said, if you'd like to feel like that again, keep doing it. But if they can't convince themselves, I have to work with a coach like myself over a period of time to actually get to that state, but to the point where they've refound their joy or their sense of humor. Yeah. Now, a lot of people like those people, frontline responders, etc., have a thing called a black sense of humor, and it's only a sense of humor that they understand. And we look at it and go, "Oh, that's really black," but it helps them get through those challenging times.
Yeah,
and
I think that comes back right to the point in the beginning about when you weren't talking about it so much to do with humor as opposed to understanding or being self-aware of your own things. I think it's the same with humor. It's really personalizing it and getting to know yourself and what works for you and what type of humor makes you laugh. And I think that accepting and not judging anybody for any of that, unless obviously it's humor that ridicules someone else, and then that's not something we promote. But I think that I think it is a lot of it about accepting that we all like different things and getting to know what makes one person laugh and doing more of that. So I suppose to wind up a little bit, people are at home now. Most people are spending a lot of time at home. What sort of things can you do into your life to bring more humour and more laughing into your life, except for obviously, which I'll put in the show notes, your social yoga sessions, yoga laughter sessions, and obviously working with a coach like yourself. But for themselves, what are some things and examples that people can do to bring more humour and more laughter into their life?
Yeah, well, certainly come to one of our online sessions. They're free. There's no danger in that. Come along and experience what laughter yoga is all about. Start hanging out with happy people. Start shifting your mind to what have you learned? What have you learned? So in COVID times, what have we learned? So we're in our 6th lockdown at the moment. What have we learned about that? What it's about being curious. And all of a sudden the light bulb comes on. You go, oh, I've learned to be, as the people said yesterday, I've learned to be more patient. I've learned not to sweat the small stuff. I'm going, isn't this cool? Isn't this cool? If we focus on the numbers and then we're in lockdown, that's what we're going to become. We're going to become that sort of negative, miserable person. And I mean that respectively, because we're living in miserable times. But if all of a sudden you shift your mindset onto what have I learned? Oh my goodness, I've learned that I am, I can connect with people like you. I've learned these other things. And all of a sudden the light bulb comes on and go, oh my goodness, I've learned so much in these times. You see, this was just a challenge that was thrown at us to see if we're worthy of learning or not. And so when you do and you realize that you've learned so much, just have a little giggle. Just have a little giggle. So learn just to giggle at yourself. If you make a mistake, as I did when Siri went off before on my little laptop computer there, the first thing I did, I'll have to check the recording. I think I laughed because I'm going, well, I can get really upset or I can laugh. And then it becomes a habit. So here's what the people do. Wake up tomorrow morning, look at yourself in the mirror and just laugh for 30 seconds. Just laugh for 30 seconds. Now, if you've said, I can't do it, you're right. You can't. If you said, I'll tell you what, Merv, I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. After 30 seconds of laughing and seeing you be joyful and laughing in the mirror, it will start to shift our conscious mind. It works.
Yeah.
It works.
It's like the same saying as dance like nobody's watching, laugh like nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And for me, to add to that, obviously, that's something that people might not have thought to do, and it's a really good tool to try to do, and then add it to that tool bag for your wellbeing tool bag. For me, last weekend I was sort of going into a state of anxiety about a lot of different things. And so I literally pulled out every funny YouTube video that I could find, and I found myself sitting there by myself, absolutely laughing for about 2 hours. And it felt so good. So I think, whatever works, like I think watching comedy, finding your favorite comedians, finding funny memes, all those sort of things are also, I think, great things to add. Would you agree?
What's fascinating, recently we've gone on to all these memes. I get professional emails and people have got these little smiley faces at the end. I'm going, we're starting to lighten up. This is really gold. And those little smiley faces or crying faces or something like that, we're actually going back to expressing our emotions in the way of memes. I think that's a really good transition that we've seen. But more importantly, learn to laugh at yourself. Learn to laugh at your imperfections. Learn to laugh about the fact that you're getting old. Learn to laugh about the fact that you've got no hair. As soon as you are able to laugh at yourself, everything is really quite fine. So we're just about out of time, I guess. Can I leave you with this little laugh, Lisa? So I want you to put your finger up, your pointy finger, and I want you to smile. And I want you to move that finger around, just in the air, just a little bit. And I want you to wave it around in front of your face. And then I want you to bring it down and put it on the tip of your nose and just go,
Oh, well, if no one was laughing before, they'll just be laughing at me now.
And what you said is right. If people laugh at me doing that, that's fine.
Yeah.
I want them laughing with me. I don't want them laughing at me. I'm not a comedian. I'm not a jokester. I'm a laughter yoga professional. I want them laughing with me. And if we can get the world laughing at the moment, we've done a good thing.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's so much, you've brought a wealth of knowledge to this conversation, from some of the science to some of your own personal experiences, the things that you've seen, and some great suggestions of what people can actually do to incorporate into their everyday life, including attending some of your social yoga sessions. The thing which we won't go into, but I'd like to add, which came to my mind when you were talking, is that a lot of people are at home and having parents-wise and having maybe some conflict or some uncomfortable situations with their children, because everybody's in the one house, they're not going to school, and everything's becoming really serious. Kids are really struggling as well with anxiety and possibly some depression. And so perhaps maybe, and I know that I sometimes have trouble doing this, but I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more to tackle those really challenging conversations, or those times where you might get angry with your kids. If we can sort of start to make them laugh or put humour into the way that we respond to some of the things that they're doing to annoy us, then that's also something that can help really shift the mood. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, absolutely. And my son rang me the other day, FaceTimed me the other day, and I'm going, what's going on? Why are you FaceTiming me at dinner time? And he said, oh, my son is being really, really annoying. Can you do that thing where you get him laughing? And I go, yeah, sure. So got him laughing. All of a sudden, the whole mood just changed. So laughter's a circuit breaker. If we get angry at other people in our house, I get it, all right? It's challenging. But then we've got to do that circuit breaker. So often I hear people say, oh, we're so angry, and all of a sudden one person starts to laugh. That's an innate intelligence that says, oh, I'm over this. And then the other person laughs, and then we go, why were we angry?
Yeah.
All right, absolutely. So use it as a circuit breaker.
Fantastic. So from today's conversation, it's really evident that laughter can ease suffering, but it can also enhance connection and overall well-being of a person, a relationship, or even the wellness of a business. So thank you so much, Merv, for your valued contributions and for your insights in today's funny topic.
My pleasure. Is the recording going to finish soon?
Yes.
I'm going to press the stop recording button.
No, keep it going.
I'll keep going.
So I'm wondering from everybody what their biggest takeaway is or insight is from today's conversation. So if you could leave a comment and let us know, and if you'd like to connect with Merv or find out more about his laughter yoga or workplace wellbeing programs that incorporate laughter, how can they do that, Merv?
Oh, just laughteryogaaustralia.org is the main national website that's got the online laughter clubs on it. mervneal.com is my personal website. This is my business, so you'll find the business side of me as the speaker on that. Or just send me an email, merv@mervneal.com. I answer emails regularly, and every time I get a reach out from someone, an email, I always respond to them. So just get in touch, keep in touch.
Fantastic. And I'll put all of those details on the show notes as well. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends and consider subscribing to the Wellthy Living podcast on iTunes and YouTube, as well as Spotify or any other podcast listening platform that you use. To find out more about my services, you can visit my website at wellthyliving.com.au or connect with me on any of my social media channels. So until next time, remember, connection is medicine.